What is up? What is up, guys? I finally made it back in here. Good to see y'all. I was just kind of lurking in the chat, not for long, just for a couple minutes. And I tell you what, it is always great to pop in here and see y'all guys waiting on me. That means more than anything to me. So I am glad that everybody is here. I can't wait to get into this. Now, I do have a couple little disclaimers on this, and look, I'm going a different direction than I normally do, or that I have been. But I think this is important. First off, this is not in any way to be confused with medical advice, because it absolutely is not. I am sharing my opinions and, in some cases, opinions of others. And not medical advice at all. Always go see your doctor for medical decisions or any medical advice that you need. Now, the reason I say this is because, or the reason why I say I think this is going to be important is I had a little case of deja vu. I'm sure probably a few of y'all there in the chat probably had that same feeling. When I saw the report that there was a cruise ship of all things, anchored out with a whole bunch of sick people on it, people that were, I guess you could say, quarantined to the ship, or at least for a time. And I thought, no fucking way. But, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what happened. So I don't know if y'all possibly remember back. There's been so much shit that's happened since. Sometimes it's kind of hard. But if y'all remember back about 5 or 6 years ago, there was a cruise ship and with some sick people on it, and that's where it all started. And we all know where that ended up. So I think it is very important. To remember what they are capable of and what they have done to us in very recent past. And I think when we look at this new more current go around of it, I think it would be a good idea to just, every time you see a news report or anything like that, just compare it to 2020. And, let's not let them do it to us again. Now, that does not mean be stupid. Hey, you know what? There's nothing's true. There's nothing, you can't be reckless. You can't be stupid, but just don't let them put us in the position that they put us in last time. And look, I don't know how everybody in this chat and that will hear this feels about it. Look, maybe you felt differently about those years, and if you did, that's fine. But I'm gonna, if that is the case, then I'm going to introduce you to the other side. And but hey, much love, much respect, no matter how you feel or how you fall on this whole thing. But I would ask, just listen to some of the material that I'm going to present. And this is going to be coming from people way smarter than me, one guy in particular. And we'll see where it goes. But again, as I said, this is a little reminder, just a refresher. There'll be more to come. But we're going to start tonight remembering what happened, late 2019, early 2020. That being said, I'm done yapping. I'm going to say hi to some folks. Hey, Bree, how you doing? Glad to see you here. Glad to see Charlie's Angels is in the chat. Hey, Charlie's Angels. Well, yes, do that. Look, not actual medical advice, but that's a really good idea, Charlie's Angels. Daisy Time, see you in there. Good to see y'all. Brett, always good to see you, Brett. Buddy, I'm sorry I meant to get back with you earlier, but it has been a crazy day. Well, hence as to why this has gone like it has so far. So I apologize. I promise we'll do better. We will definitely do better. All right, who else we got there? Let's see. 44, Glenn Coco in the chat. What is up? What is up? Chat GPT gives you medical advice all the time. Well, that's fine. That's okay for Chat GPT. I'm not going to get caught doing it. Not directly anyway. You know, I can kind of hint around him how, you know, throw a little hint here and there, but I'm not going to be like Chat GPT. Kelly, hey, how are you doing? Good to see you in the chat. Let's see. Oh, where is Miss Susan now? I told her I was going to be live tonight. Nobody seen Miss Susan? Hey, Nosy, you're probably asleep, and I would not blame you if you are. I'm so sorry. We'll get them back on track where you can make sure and be here and be awake. I am going to message Miss Susan right now as we speak, and then we'll fire this thing up. She may be asleep already, but the last time that I thought it was too late, she was like, "Why didn't you let me know you were going live? I didn't get the notification." So I just sent her I sent her a text. Sorry, that one of Brett's chats caught my eye, the one about me not texting him since early. I'm sorry, Brett. I swear I'll do better tomorrow. I promise, buddy. It's been crazy. I see Bree baby been saying, "Where are you at, Adam?" Oh Lord, I'm sorry, guys. I really, really am. Okay. Let's see. Okay, y'all. Miss Susan is about to grace y'all with her presence. She gonna be here. All right, guys. Hey, Rick, how you doing? Good to see you. Yeah. In Australia, they did all kinds of wacky shit over there, didn't they? That's crazy. That scares me, dude. Maybe you have to consider taking you an extended vacation over here. Hey, there's Nature's Nectar. How you doing? Good to see you in the chat. All right, guys, let's get it going. I know it's getting late, really late for some people. Some people in the chat might just be getting up, but anyway, it is. All right, there we go. Let's do this. So this is Dr. David Martin. I do not know how familiar or if at all y'all will be. I do know there are a lot of people that are not that familiar with him. Very, very intelligent man, done a lot of things in his life. And I really like his take. This is him at the EU, and he pretty much lays it all out. He sums it up pretty good, or at least in my opinion. So let's hear what Dr. David Martin has to say about all this. And you know the routine. We'll be talking about it.
Our next speaker, and we're really honored that he also made his way from the United States of America to be with us already.
There's Miss Susan. Woohoo, yeah.
For a lecture tour through Europe, and now here with us in the European Parliament in Strasbourg, Dr. David E. Martin. He's the founder and chairman of AmChem International, Rasa Energy, and is a Batten Fellow of the University of Virginia. His experience includes founding the first medical device clinical trial center at UVA, while on the medical school faculty in radiology and orthopedic surgery. His work with global investigation of biological and chemical weapons was done through his company Mosaic Technologies, in which he led numerous defense to civilian technology transfer programs with the world's largest companies and countries. His work includes publications and academic appointments in medicine, law, and economics. His firm AmChem was responsible for leading investigation and supporting prosecution of some of the largest financial frauds in the U.S. history as a contractor for the U.S. Treasury. David E. Martin will summarize the most critical points of WHO as an organization that is not serving the health of the people, but is driven by the business interest of its sponsors.
Well, the translators are gone, and the live stream is waning, which means that if we just listen to my colleague Matthias, the best thing in the world would be to leave it to you, the people. Now it's up to you to share what clearly, based on the cavernous emptiness we see in all of these spaces, is only going to be heard if you share it. So it feels very appropriate that I should be the one with the quietest voice. But let's let that lion roar, shall we? I'm done talking about COVID, and I'm done talking about...
Raining, woohoo! What's up, Raining? Good to see you here. Hey, I am really noticing a pattern, Miss Raining, and I am really liking it. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here.
SARS-CoV-2, and I'm done for a very simple reason. For 110 years, we, the people of the world, have been lied to. We're a group, a very small number of criminal industrial conspirators.
Does that sound familiar at all? A very, very small group of powerful people kind of hanging out in the background in the shadows, but pulling the strings.
Decided to subordinate the entirety of the human population for the purpose of their sinister plans to enrich themselves.
And just let me say this. They've always got a plan. And when he says sinister plan, he means it. Trust me, their plans never benefit me and you. So, just want to throw that out there.
While impoverishing and killing the rest of humanity. And I'm done being polite. We've long passed polite. When the words acceptable death rate become part of an industrial norm, we have lost the plot of humanity. And that's not my words. Those were the words of the World Health Organization and of Pfizer and of Moderna when they were given the authorization to begin the process of killing human beings in the interest of advancing their goals. Next slide.
And you know, that was a term that was used a lot, an acceptable death rate. So, you know, they just refer to human lives or the ending of those human lives as just a number, a statistic. What did they say? How does that saying go? You know, like one death, or I think it's one death is a tragedy, but like 100 or 1,000 deaths is just a statistic. And that's sadly, that's the truth.
And I'm also not going to sugarcoat this. This is a criminal cartel. We are acting as though there's some sort of redeemable quality somewhere in some esoteric layer that somehow or another the World Health Organization must have some salutatory benefit. Well, I'm going to tell you, since its formation in the 1940s, the World Health Organization has been nothing more than a criminal cartel that has a sole and singular intent. And I will show you the document that proves what I'm saying. This is not an allegation. This is actually provable by their own words in their own hand. And they use a four-step process to execute every one of their nefarious plans. They begin by planning an exercise, then they go to the business of funding that exercise, then they create the rationale for the thing that they're going to do, and then they deploy and profit from it.
That's what people refer to as the Hegelian dialectic. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that term. I'm guessing probably at least some of you are. But yeah, that is where the same group of people, some of these powerful people that are back in the shadows, kind of trying to pull our strings, they create a problem. They create a problem, then all of a sudden they help with the reaction, and then guess what? They've got a solution. Problem, reaction, solution. And all of these steps, everything's planned out from the get-go. They already know what their solution is going to be long before they start causing the problem. So, yeah, definitely. I'm going to say, I believe, allegedly, that little bout we had in 2020 was definitely planned out. And I feel like the quote-unquote countermeasure was also planned out. So That is just my feeling about it.
And in violation of 15 U.S. Code Section 19, which for those of you listening, coincidentally started with the Clayton Act in the same year that the World Health Organization in the United States, 1913, the same year the World Health Organization's progenitors also started. So I find it fascinating that we passed the Clayton Act in 1913 and we set in motion 110 years ago the criminal conspiracy, which we now call the World Health Organization. 110 years later. And in violation of TIFU, or TEFU, I don't even know how to say it, the TFEU, the treaty allegedly for the functioning of the European Union, which I think needs to now be called the Treaty for the Dysfunctional European Cabal. Article 101 unambiguously lays out the conditions that this was never a public health anything. It was racketeering for the purpose of instilling terror to adapt the behavior of a population. Period. That's what it was. That's what it always was.
And also, let's not forget that it was the single largest wealth transfer in history ever. All of the small people, all the middle class people, they got poorer, and all the big corporations and people that were already well off got way better off. When you have a mom and pop's hardware store, or even a small grocery store, or a whatever, and a barber shop, coffee shop, and then they say you have to close your doors because you're non-essential. We're only going to let essential people stay open, but conveniently enough, Walmart was really essential, and so was Lowe's, and so was Amazon. Do you know how much their stocks went up, and like what happened to their business during this whole mess? So any of the little small places where you might have 2 or 3 people hanging out in the store, they got shut down. But guess what? The big chain right down the road where there's liable to be a couple hundred people in there at any given time, that's okay. They're essential.
And we can come up with every theoretical argument we want to make about things, but the problem, even with the theory that we had an outbreak of something, is falsifiable for the data from Zurich that shows us that in the year of the death pandemic of the globe, life insurance companies paid $30 billion less in claims. Now, if there's a medical professional or a social professional,
I want y'all to explain to me how that worked. If that many people died, then how, in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord, did the insurance companies pay out 30% less in that time period than they ordinarily would or they had prior years? How is that possible? I mean, really seems to me like there weren't really any extra deaths.
Or anybody else who wants to debate that we could develop a virus cunningly that could find out your bank account, your insurance policy statements, and whether you're paid up on your premiums, that's a big ask. It turns out that the data is unambiguous. We did not have a pandemic, we had genocide. And we need to call it what it is. Next slide.
Raining, that is Dr. David Martin, and he is really good. I followed him for a long time. I started following him back in 2020, 2021, whatever. I found him on this subject, so yes, he's really good.
When I say we planned it, let's make sure we understand exactly the not so fine print of the fine print.
Yeah, Miss Susan, I ain't doing no face diaper either.
And I want to call your attention first to the right-hand column of this slide. This is the 2011 data that the World Health Organization, the Wellcome Trust, PATH, and the Gates Foundation did on their wonderful worldwide program for a malaria vaccine for children under the age of 6 months of age. And in their clinical trial, it's helpful to point out that they murdered 66 children in the vaccine group and then cunningly used the term control for a control group in which they murdered 28 children. Now, the reason I said murdered and the reason why I use that term is because it's exactly what it was. Because it turns out that this control group was not a saline injection. It was not some sort of innocuous, innocent thing. It was actually a cocktail of other known pathogenic disease-carrying injections. The control group was known to kill people.
Why would they do that, huh? Why would they do that? I can tell you why. And I'm no medical professional. And again, this is not medical advice. But I can tell you exactly why. So if you have this test drug that you're wanting to take to market, and when I say drug, I mean specifically the kind that is put into you with a needle. You know, when you do your trial, so the standard and what is supposed to be used in a control group is saline, because saline is, at least we're told, but pretty generally accepted to be harmless. So you take so many people, and of course they don't know whether they're getting a real thing or not, but then they get saline, the other group gets the new medical intervention. So if that were to happen, and every single person in the control group got saline, we all know they'd be fine. And then if a big old bunch of people in the group that got the medication, if they died, that looks really bad compared to this whole entire group of people that came out perfectly fine. But if you use another medication for the control group instead of saline, that way some of those people can die too, then all of a sudden these don't look so bad. And that is exactly why they do that. And trust me, there are several shots that they have done that with. If you go back and look at the package insert or really dig into how they were tested, they do that a lot. Instead of using saline for the control group, they'll use some other kind of medicine, which is also risky. So it makes the number of people that die due to the medication look better, because some of these people with saline died too. Sick.
And the experimental control group was actually theoretically maybe going to kill people. And what we did was we actually went ahead and murdered them all. And cunningly, under Article 5, Section 13, which I've put on this slide, I want you to understand why I said at its formation in 1947, when the WHO was funded and founded, it was funded and founded by people intent to commit a crime because of their own language. Section 13 of Article 5 ends with the following statement: immunity from personal arrest or detention, blah, 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 immunity from legal process of every kind. Now, if you didn't intend to commit a crime, why would you need to give yourself permanent and absolute immunity from every form of prosecution, and it's worse, even investigation for prosecution of every kind? People sit there and pretend, well, that's like diplomatic immunity. Do you realize this isn't even meeting the standard of diplomatic immunity? This is a criminal organization who set in motion their own law to protect themselves against crimes they knew they were going to commit. And when I say they knew they were going to commit, I mean they knew it, because their first Director General, none other than Dr. René Sand, who happened to be in the hospitality of the Germans in Dachau in 1940 earlier, in 1947, mysteriously, with the largesse of the Rockefeller Foundation, was nominated to become the first Director General of the WHO.
Those Rockefellers always pop up. I mean, all the time that name comes up. Anytime we're talking about something, anytime we talk about anything bad, whether it's something deadly or something, when we start talking about greed or, just any kind of anything bad that affects us in our daily lives, a lot of times that name comes up. It's kind of strange, isn't it? Yeah, they have got a really, really deep how do words work? They have a really deep and extensive history when it comes to medical institutions. It was the Rockefellers basically that run all the naturopath doctors out of business, got them, turned them basically into quacks, or that's how they were considered. They're the ones that brought in all this mainstream medicine, and trust me, they did not do it for good intentions.
And within 5 short years, René Sand decided to authorize the real purpose of the WHO in writing by then Director General Dr. Brock Chisholm, who advocated for population control as its primary objective. Does that sound like public health to anyone in this room? This is not public health.
Kez, that is true, and he done a lot of good work. It appears, anyway, they finally got him, though. Did you know that he is, last I heard, he was in jail. He was in jail for a pretty good long while. And no matter what they actually charged him with and blamed it on, that the work he did was the reason for it.
This is the advancement of the same genocidal program that began with the Carnegie Foundation's funding of the eugenics office at Cold Spring Labs in the United States in 1913 under the philanthropy of Andrew Carnegie. People, stop fooling yourself. We debate the leaves on the tree of what we call this pandemic thing, but we're not going to the root. This was an organized crime, racketeering entity set up to give itself first absolute immunity and then execute its plans to make sure it controls who lives, who dies, and who gets any chance at life. And if you think that I am somehow inflating numbers, let me be unambiguous. Under every treatment of tax provision, if I were to tell you that there is an 88% controlling interest of any organization, you might conclude that that actually aggregates into a controlling interest. And it turns out that if we look at the foundation donations to the World Health Organization.
Thank you, Miss Susan. Thank you.
88% of those come from a single organization, the Gates Foundation. That constitutes a violation of every competitivist law in Europe and every competitivist law in the United States. This is absolutely not only not an independent, charitably funded donation, but more importantly, under the tax laws on both sides of the Atlantic, this constitutes directed donations which specifically are forbidden and do not have any place anywhere in the Charter of the World Health Organization or any of the UN-affiliated organizations. When I say this is a crime, I mean it's a tax crime, a racketeering crime, a money laundering crime, and now the crime of racketeering leading to murder and global terrorism. Next slide. I told you that the second thing after they plan it is they fund it. And why don't we use the criminals' language in their own words, because it's the best way to say it. When they actually planned the release of the use of a biologically modified chimera associated with the model derived from coronavirus, they actually said the following.
This is them literally talking about how they were going to release a coronavirus. One that was genetically modified, to be more deadly. Just wait. If you haven't heard it, just wait and see what he says.
To sustain the funding base beyond the crisis, we need to increase the public understanding for the needful medical countermeasures, such as a pan-influenza or pan-coronavirus vaccine. Now, let me pause for just one moment and remind
in their own damn words, right out of their own mouths.
You that the crisis that they were speaking of was a crisis of diminishing funding. There was no health crisis. This was a crisis of their coffers were starting to run dry. That's the crisis. And let's read on. A key driver is the media, and the economics will follow the hype.
Yeah. So in other words, if we can convince the news organizations that there's some deadly virus that's overtaking the world and it's killing everybody, and have them talk about it every single day, and not only that, we put a little counter down there at the bottom of every TV screen that shows every time somebody contracts it, every time somebody's test positive, every time somebody dies. It's going to make it so real to them. So many less people died of this than what die in a car crash. And you know what? If they were to put that little ticker, that little counter up there on the screen and count off every single time somebody died from an automobile accident, you think people would stop driving? I mean, I guess probably some would.
We need to use that hype to our advantage to get to the real issues. Investors will respond if they see profit at the end of the process. That is officially the statement made by the conspiratorial cabal that by that time was the decade of vaccines put in motion in 2011 by the Global Preparedness Monitoring Board of the World Health Organization, and it was the funding base for Peter Daszak's partnership with the chimeric production of pathogens both in North Carolina and in Wuhan. So don't tell me that we have to do an investigation into where this came from. The criminals have admitted to it in their own words.
They told us. They said it. Just nobody was listening. And then once the shit starts going down and you point it out, it's just like, oh, yeah, okay, right. That they were talking about something else, or they didn't mean it.
Next slide. And now we get the fun one that no one in Congress is willing to address, which is the elephant in the room. On October the 21st, 2014, despite the multiple conversations between Senator Rand Paul and Anthony Fauci, where we've been told that Rand Paul has done everything he can to put Fauci on the ropes, he has had in his possession the letter that you see on.
Just hang with us, Daisy. Just hang with us. We learn all kinds of good stuff here. We got way more where this came from. Maybe not all tonight, but I'm just saying there's more incoming.
The left. And it is the letter conveniently on NIAID letterhead sent to the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, which
is its true origin. Ralph Barrett worked at the University of Chapel Hill in North Carolina, and that is where he was considered to be like the coronavirus guru. And he did all kinds of funky, dangerous, crazy work to coronaviruses. But yes, Wuhan got a big name during all this, and we were definitely doing work there with coronaviruses in Wuhan, and generally accepted that's where it was leaked from. But if you want to know its true origin, it was North Carolina. More than likely, allegedly, in Minecraft. Because, and I don't know if he goes into it here, but we'll definitely get into that sometime. But anyway, I mean, there's conversations, there's news releases and articles and stuff with them talking about it.
Unambiguously states that during the gain-of-function moratorium, which, by the way, if we use the word moratorium, feels like that means you're supposed to stop. Why don't we go ahead and look at two pieces?
Daisy, I think this was in 2020. I want to say it was in like 2023. This is all, COVID related. It was probably 2022, 2023, something like that.
Of this letter. First, the second bullet under Project One, which, by the way, was not part of the original grant. This was to look at the novel functions of the virus pathogenesis in vivo. You know what that means? In living systems. The grant was supposed to be clinical simulations and models, but this grant was
Daisy, like I said, I got a bad case of the deja vu whenever they told us that there was a cruise ship with sick people on it dying, because that's exactly how COVID started. So I think we just need to be careful. Don't be stupid. Don't do anything stupid. Don't go do something that you feel is dangerous. Definitely talk to your medical provider. Blah blah blah. This is not medical advice. But we just need to be really careful, and we need to make sure that they don't lock us down and do what they did last time.
modified with.
And we definitely need to make sure that they don't threaten us with our jobs, our lives, our families, our kids, over taking a shot. And we definitely don't need to let them put us in the position where we've got elderly parents and grandparents dying alone in nursing homes and hospitals. Like, there are so many people that are wrecked in so many different ways over this. Financially, yes, but emotionally, like, it's, I don't think anybody really has a good grasp on how much damage was done in those few years.
This letter to say we were going to authorize gain-of-function research during the moratorium in living systems. And then we love the last paragraph of this letter, which conveniently says, as your grant is currently funded, this pause is voluntary. How many times have you met a voluntary moratorium? And the best part about it is that if we look at the very last line, or continue to conduct the applicable gain-of-function research until the end of the currently active budget period. But here comes the problem. You know who is supplying the budget? An indefinite term, unlimited amount contract from DARPA and from NIH. Isn't it convenient to have a perpetually funded project that needs to stop when the money runs out, when you find out that there is no point where the money runs out because there is no end to the thing that has no end? And lest you think that I'm making an allegation, which I'm not, I'm making an accusation. Let's be clear. And there's a big difference. I'm not alleging anything. They actually went to the trouble of telling us that it was going to be the Wuhan virus that was going to get us. As you see on the right-hand side of the screen, published in 2016, March 14th of 2016, the SARS-like Wuhan Institute of Virology Virus 1, and I quote, is poised for human emergence.
Poised for human emergence. I don't know how y'all interpret that, but to me, there's only one way to interpret that. We've been working on it. We've been making adjustments because this was a virus that would not, spread to humans. This was not a human virus. We have worked on it. We've played with it, and we finally have it ready to where it will make people sick. Now it's time. It's ready. Sick motherfuckers.
Does that sound like we're just surprised that something in Wuhan went a little haywire in December of 2019? Or does it feel like we were told, look at Wuhan, and look at coronavirus, and look at what we've been doing to manipulate coronavirus in Wuhan and at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and lo and behold, we're going to go ahead and tell you that we're ready to release it in 2016. Next slide. We're almost done. And then they created it. Now, all of you know that I am criticized globally for my use of the term biological warfare. I do that because I am credentialed to do that. I happen to be, for the United States government in the early part of the 2000s and the latter part of the 90s, a person who was sent around the world to look at the proliferation of biological and chemical weapons. I'm acutely familiar with the definition of what a biological warfare agent is in the 18 U.S. Code, the criminal code of violations of biological and chemical weapons. And so my assessment is, in fact, professional and right. And the reason for that is I'm the one credentialed to make that determination for the United States government for many years. That's why I say it.
And he's right. I mean, that is what he did. He is very knowledgeable and one of the authorities when it comes to interpreting those particular types of laws concerning those particular types of things. So this is not just somebody's opinion. This guy is a professional in this very thing.
But let's pretend for the moment that I'm just a nut job. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. So why don't we look at what the criminals said?
Yeah. He's him and well, there's several, but yeah, he's a terrain theory guy. He doesn't believe in bugs. And, you know, when I say bugs, I mean like germs, viruses. There's a lot of merit to it, I think. I'm not sure. I haven't just completely, I hadn't completely made the leap, but it does make a lot of sense to me. And I know they're definitely worth listening to.
Themselves, shall we? In 2005, at a conference sponsored by DARPA and the MITRE Corporation, Ralph Baric, the architect of the lethal strand that has been injected into millions and billions of people's arms, that Ralph Baric was sponsored to present the following, and let's go ahead and use his words, presentation: synthetic coronaviruses, biohacking, biowarfare enabling technologies. Does that sound like a public health distribution program? Does that sound like something that is accidentally misinterpreted to mean something else? Or does biological warfare enabling technologies sound like not countermeasures or pandemic preparedness? It sounds to me like biological warfare enabling technologies. And the reason why I have that hunch is what followed was he received, next to his NIAID grants, non-competitive DARPA grants in matching funds for over $140 million of aggregate funding going into his and his related programs on synthetic biological warfare enabling technologies. So do I have a problem calling the injection a biological warfare enabling technology? Absolutely not, because that's what they called it.
That's what they called it.
And we know that they knew they called it that on September 18th, 2019. Because on September 18th, 2019...
But take it, or you're going to kill Granny.
The racketeering, co-conspiring cabal of...
Oh, yeah, Daisy, he's still around. He's gotten quieter. I mean, he's still out there, but the COVID thing kind of faded. I'm expecting him to probably start yelling from the rooftops again here pretty soon. With this whole new, Fanta thing that's going on. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I do expect him to start being a lot more active on social media and stuff with this ordeal that we may have coming.
Interlocking directorates, also known as the World Health Organization, said that they were going to conduct an experience for the world that was going to be a rapidly spreading pandemic due to a lethal respiratory pathogen. The lethality in that statement is the problem. They didn't say we're going to maybe get a little bit of sniffles going around. They said we were going to actually have the promulgation of a deadly agent.
There's only one way that I can take deadly agent. I mean, I don't know about y'all. Maybe there's different ways to interpret that, but the way I see it, that means it's intended to kill folks.
And the stated reason in September 2020, the progress indicator is that the world would accept a universal vaccine.
And why? Because they turned this bug loose. And they started telling people that people were getting sick from this new bug, when in fact, there's pretty good data to show that it was nothing more than just flu. But yeah, they tell people that, I mean, people, they're dropping like flies. They're dying left and right. You got to stay locked in your house. You can't go to work. Oh, look what we've got. We've got the answer to your prayers. We can fix all your problems. Just take this, and then your life can go back to normal.
Not, we'll look at other options of treatment. Not, we'll have a look at what might be early intervention, as Dr. McCullough has so clearly advocated for in many, many, many instances.
Bree, I don't know about that. I don't even like to sit on mine, much less stand on them, okay? Just saying.
Not that. We stated on September 18th, 2019, we were intending to kill. And we were intending to kill to create the fear that would drive people to accept something that without coercion, no one would have accepted. And that's published by the...
You're right, Daisy, but you know why? I mean, it was already done. Like I said, they've already got the solution before they cut the problem loose. That thing was already done. They couldn't just turn it loose the next day because, I mean, obviously that would look a little suspicious, but they already knew. They probably already had it in vials. That had been, trust me, that had been in the works for a long time.
Criminal racketeers. Next slide, and there's only 2 to go if you're following. Deploy and profit from it. We were told investors will respond if they see profit at the end of the process, and lo and behold, guess what they saw? Profit at the end of the process. 2022, $100 billion for Pfizer of public funds. Moderna, after lying to the Congress in October of 2020 when they were asked to actually verify whether NIAID was promoting an injection that would enrich NIAID, where Anthony Fauci and the entire team at NIH said that they had no financial interest in their recommendation, they
Fucking liars, I'm telling you. Oh, just look right at you and lie.
receive a back payment royalty of $400 million for the first payment of the royalty.
Oh, no financial incentive whatsoever. $400 million? You call that money?
$400 million. More than any Institute of Health has ever received in a single payment for a single invention in the history of American medical research. And lo and behold, what do we receive after that? A request from the World Health Organization to expand its budget by 11% to make sure that the people who profited from it donate to it. And guess what they just did? They laundered the money right back. That's what they did. Next, and now you get the final slide.
Yeah, and that remdesivir was that was one of the big treatments they started doing early on in the hospitals, and it was that was being tested during Ebola. And the interesting thing about that is when they decided to use remdesivir in the hospitals and make it, put it on the actual list of protocols, there were other options that did similar things. Oddly enough, I think there were like 3, and out of the 3, remdesivir was by far the deadliest. I do remember this much, that when it was in trial, they pulled it because it was killing too many people during Ebola. And I want to say it was 54% or 57%, something to that effect, died from taking the medicine. And yet when COVID rolled through, they took it, they put it on the list of accepted and actually, required treatments. And there you go. Once again, they got our best interests in mind.
This is not a public health crime. This is actually not a constitutional crime. This is a criminal act done by a criminal institution established to enable criminal behavior since its foundation in 19...
Oh, that's awful, Nature's Nectar. I hate that. I tell you what, it's always bad, but I really feel for anybody that had to go through anything even close to that, or anything like that during that time period, especially. Like I said, obviously I feel sorry for anybody that has to deal with that anyway, but especially in those years.
1947. That is what this is. And we should not be debating the merits of democracy or liberty or anything else, as irrational as that would be.
Hey, ain't no reason to feel like that, Susan. Jesus Christ. They had everybody scared to death. And they had everybody scared to death. They threw this thing out there. They made it sound real good. Well, it's got a 95% efficacy. I mean, like, they lied. I mean, so, look, I know lots of people that, well, I won't say lots of people, but I know people that took it. It's like I tell them, and most of them have said since they had to do over, they wouldn't take it. I always tell them, like, look, just, it's up to you. Not giving you medical advice, but don't take it next time. I mean, really, really, really weigh your options, and always, always use 2020 as a reference point. Always think back on that before you make your decision. Anything going forward. That would be my medical non-opinion, because I'm not giving medical advice.
If we stood at a bank robbery and debated the merits of printing dollar bills. The problem is not the dollar bills, it's the bank robber. And the problem here is not health, and it's not public health.
AZT was awful. And you know what? Funny. That was another drug that killed more people than it helped. And guess who was pushing that? Fauci. That was he was the AZT man. He pushed that harder than anybody. That fucker needs to be under the jail.
Health, and it's not the suppression of information and the suppression of dissident views and the absolute unconscionable treatment of physicians around the world and academicians around the world who spoke out against this. That's not the crime. The crime is that we had criminal racketeers who conspired and developed a, quote, emergency. The same criminal racketeers planned, manufactured, and did all agency capture to make sure that you were told that you would use terms that they tell you to use. Vaccine, face mask, health, social distancing, none of which had ordinary use definition.
They had to change the definition of vaccine to even be able to call that shit a vaccine, because it was not a vaccine.
So we just used them. Criminal racketeers price fixed with interlocking directorates where known competitors came together and fixed prices in direct collusion, in violation of both European Union standards and in violation of both the Sherman and the Clayton Act in the United States. These were crimes. It was organized crime, and we should treat it as such. Criminal racketeers publicly lied under oath, and this resulted in the death and destruction of liberty, and most importantly, the death and destruction of the integrity of well-meaning people who sit here today doing everything they can within their power to try to treat the calamities created by this catastrophe. I will not for a moment denigrate the...
That is a good doctor, Raining, because I'm going to tell you right now, most of them didn't have the guts to do that.
multiple contributions of amazing academic and medical professionals.
Oh, he did, Brett. Didn't you hear him? A little go back and forth they did, That's what they mean by go after. That was a pretty good show for Congress.
Who've tried desperately to step into the gap.
Good, Bree. Very, very good. Thank God.
And stop the corrupt outcomes of these crimes. But I will, without doubt, say the following. until we treat this as a criminal conspiracy of criminal racketeers resulting in global terrorism for the purpose of profiteering and murder. Until we have that conversation, we're having the wrong conversation. Because we are not here to debate the merits of a modified agreement for a criminal racketeering organization. We are here to end the criminal organization itself. This is my call to every single person on this planet. Don't just limit the power of the WHO. Destroy the WHO. Thank you very much.
Welcome to
Whoops. Sorry about that, guys. All right. What about that? Y'all like David Martin? He is really, really good. He is one of my favorites. Absolutely one of my favorites. All right, let's see. I hate that when they automatically start playing. Sorry about that, guys. Well, wait a minute. I don't think I was sharing, so y'all probably didn't hear that. All right. We'll do one more. There's lots more. We could do this all freaking night. We could go forever. But let's do one more. You want to do one more short one? This will be a short one. I know y'all are probably getting tired just like I am. Let's see. Okay, and there we go. All right, let's do another one.
List of people who wanted to take credit for inventing coronavirus.
I did a bear run. I caught myself. It was really, really short and sweet. We'll do that. Let's try that again.
We know that Anthony Fauci, that Ralph Baric, that the Center for Disease Control, and the laundry list of people who wanted to take credit for inventing coronavirus were at the hub of this story. I'm the developer of Linguistic Genomics, which was the first platform on which you could determine the intent of communication rather than.
Well, I hate that happened to you, Nature. I do. That's terrible, and I'm glad. I'm glad at least you feel like you can share, and I'm sure everybody's thoughts and prayers are with you. That's awful. There's a lot of people that a lot of people I know that feel that way, and it's just it's sad. And you know what? There's probably a lot of people out here that'll disagree with this whole, all of this. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to keep others from ending up in that same situation. So, yeah, it's crazy.
Than the literal artifact of communication. But we've also used that technology for a number of other applications in defense and intelligence and finance. And most notably, in the early 2000s, my company was responsible for bringing down what was at the time one of the largest tax frauds in U.S. history. We maintained a series of inquiries into every individual, every organization, and every company that is involved in anything that either blurs the line of biological and chemical weapons or crosses that line in any of 168 countries. In 1999, there were 1 million patents digitized by IBM. And those 1 million patents were the first time human innovation had been put into an electronic digital searchable format.
So all patents were, in paper form, because way back then, that's just the way you stored stuff. You put it on paper. So as he's saying, there was 1 million patents that were digitized. Well, guess who was the guy to actually take his company and his technology and digitize those patents. Well, if you guessed Dr. David Martin, you'd be guessing correctly. So this guy knows what he's talking about. What he's about to say, believe him.
We took that information and we did a very simple exercise using our linguistic genomics technology, where I made the horrific assessment that approximately 1/3 of all patents filed in the United States were functional forgeries, meaning that while they had linguistic variations, they actually covered the same subject matter. In 1999, patents on coronavirus started showing up, and thus began.
Oh no, no! What did they say? It's a novel coronavirus. First time ever. It's brand new. Never before known to man.
And the rabbit trail.
March 2003. Panic grips Hong Kong as a deadly new virus sweeps through the city.
New virus.
In 2003, the Center for Disease Control saw the possibility of a gold strike, and that was the coronavirus outbreak that happened in Asia. They saw that a virus they knew could be easily manipulated was something that was very valuable, and in 2003, they sought to patent it. And they made sure that they controlled the proprietary rights to the disease, to the virus, and to its detection, and all of the measurement of it. We know that Anthony Fauci, that Ralph Baric.
Thank you, Nature. That means a lot. Thank you. I tell y'all all the time, best chat on the internet.
That the Center for Disease Control and the laundry list of people who wanted to take credit for inventing coronavirus were at the hub of this story. From 2003 to 2018, they controlled 100% of the cash flow that built the empire around the industrial complex of coronavirus.
The World Health Organization has officially named the novel coronavirus
the novel coronavirus outbreak.
The World Health Organization has declared a pandemic.
You don't think they sent the word out, do you? You don't think those were at all scripted, do you? It's just dumb luck. They all saying the exact same thing at the exact same time. That is some freaky shit.
International public health emergency.
Well, we know that the coronavirus manipulation started with Dr. Ralph Baric in 1999.
The major characteristics of SARS, MERS, and SARS coronavirus 2. It's a good way for you.
Ralph Baric is the researcher at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, who's famous for his chimeric coronavirus research. In 2002, there was a recognition that the coronavirus was seen as an exploitable mechanism for both good and ill. On April the 25th, 2003, the U.S. Center for Disease Control filed a patent on the coronavirus transmitted to humans. Under 35.
Because, like I said a few minutes ago, coronavirus was not transmittable to humans. It was not a human disease. But they messed around until they got it where it was.
U.S. Code Section 101.
You're killing me, Smalls. Hey, what's up? What's up?
Nature is prohibited from being patented. Either SARS coronavirus was manufactured, therefore making a patent on it legal, or it was natural, therefore making a patent on it illegal. If it was manufactured, it was a violation of biological and chemical weapons, treaties, and laws. If it was natural, filing a patent on it was illegal. In either outcome, both are illegal.
I want y'all to really let that sink in. So, if they made the modifications to it, like they claim they did, that is illegal. That falls under, like, the bioweapons thing. So that is illegal. But by doing that, by modifying it, makes it technically patentable. If they didn't do that, and it was just a virus, naturally occurring virus, then it would be illegal to patent it, because you can't patent naturally occurring things. So to me, that's really important.
In the spring of 2007, the CDC filed a petition with the Patent Office to keep their application.
Brett, anybody else in the chat, if y'all don't know this, it freaked me the hell out. I don't know if all of the 2020 ones are that way, but I do know that in 2020 they made a quarter, because I saved a few of them. In 2020, the year of the coronavirus, they made a quarter, and guess what it had on it? It had bats. It had like a mama bat and a little baby bat. Of all the things to put on quarters, it was bats in the year 2020.
Confidential and private. They actually filed patents on not only the virus, but they also filed patents on its detection and a kit to measure it. Because of that CDC patent, they
Sound like PCR to me.
had the ability to control who was authorized and who was not authorized to make independent inquiries into coronavirus. You cannot look at the virus, you cannot measure it, you cannot develop it.
I'll try to find my quarters. If I can find my quarters, I'll show them to you. And y'all dig through y'all's change, see if y'all can find one. Yep, guarantee you. Yep, a bat in 2020 on a quarter. Strange.
Test kit for it, and by ultimately receiving the patents that constrained anyone from using it, they had the means, they had the motive, and most of all, they had the monetary gain from turning coronavirus from a pathogen to profit.
Developing and owning a coronavirus vaccine has become a biotech arms race with political overtones.
This vaccine gold rush is starting to bother me. Gold rush. Let's keep that in mind.
And so somewhere between 2012 and 2013, something happened. The federal funding for research that was feeding into places like Harvard, Emory, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, that funding suddenly became impaired by something that happened at the NIH, where the NIH got this little tiny moment of clarity and said, I think
Kary Mullis, yep. It's kind of odd that as soon as he started really speaking out against Fauci, because he hated Fauci, as soon as he started really speaking out against Fauci, he mysteriously contracted a really bad case of COVID and died.
I think something we're doing is wrong. And in 2013, the NIH said,
What, Smiles? Did you look up the quarters?
gain-of-function research on coronavirus should be suspended. The National Institutes of Health had a moral and social and potentially legal reason to object to research. But the letters that were sent to the researchers essentially said, you are receiving notice that we're telling you to stop. And now on the bottom of the page, we're going to clarify what stop means. Keep
Fact check me, Nature. Fact check me.
going. But when the heat gets hot in 2014 and 15, what do? You offshore the research. You fund the Wuhan Institute of Virology to do the stuff that sounds...
Well, if nothing else, y'all learned one cool fact tonight, huh? It's going to drive me crazy. I'm going to have to go find them quarters. I put them up somewhere.
like it's getting a little edgy with respect to its morality and legality. But do you do it straight way? No. You run the money through a series of cover organizations to make it look like you're funding a U.S. operation, which then subcontracts with the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The U.S. could say, China did it. China could say, the U.S. did it. And the cool thing is, both of them are almost telling the truth.
Where did the coronavirus come from?
Our next speaker, and we're really honored that
Okay, that was the end of that. Sorry. If I'd have been paying attention, I could have made that a little smoother. But are you loving it? Are you loving it? All right. The Samoa fruit bat. What odd timing. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yep, the Samoa fruit bat. That's exactly right. Yeah, it's very, very convenient, I thought. Just a coincidence. But yeah, that's facts. That's yeah, I've got some of them put up in there somewhere. All right, guys, there's a lot more. We could do this forever. We could just do this nonstop, but we will have to we'll have to pick this up again. Pangolins, yeah, yeah. Pangolins. Yep, that's exactly what it was. Them damn pangolins. Let's see. I will be getting a time out there as early tomorrow as possible, but y'all please be watching for the thumbnail. I'll do a post. But me and Matt from Friends with Matt and Greg will be going live tomorrow night. We're gonna we're just going to talk about all the good, relevant stuff. You know how those conversations go. They're liable to end up anywhere, but I can promise you we will have a good time, be a good conversation, and y'all definitely got to come hang out. We're going to end this theory tonight. Financial plan. But anyway, so yes, be watching for that. I really, really hope to see everybody there tomorrow night for that. Like I said, me, Matt, and from Friends with Matt and Greg. So y'all know that'll be an awesome time. So y'all all make sure y'all are here and drag one or two with you, and we'll have a big time. So guys, I am so sorry. Yeah, me too. I've been looking forward to it all week. I'm so sorry to be so late. I'm wore out, so yeah. I'd rather it not be this late, but anyway, got to do what you got to do. Thank y'all for showing up. Thank y'all for the support. Probably starting back next week, I'll start trying to do my mornings, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I can't do Mondays. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 9 a.m. Central is probably what I'm going to do, and then do Friday night and or Saturday and Sunday night. So anyway, yeah, y'all have a good night. I appreciate y'all showing up again. Yes, so just anybody needs or wants them, my three links are in the description of the video. My PayPal, my Cash App, and my Venmo. If anybody wants to support me that way, thank you very much for the ones that have. Bree, thank you very much. Yes, so this week I had to swap it up because I had some stuff going on in the mornings, but I generally try to do mornings during the week, and then weekends I'll do the evening. Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night I'll do evenings. So we're still playing with the times. So just be watching for the little notification. Trying to work it out where I can for as many people as possible. So anyway, guys, thank y'all so much for showing up. I'm gonna get out of here. Y'all have a good what's left of the night, and I will see all of y'all very soon, right here tomorrow night. Me, Matt, and Greg. Thank y'all. Good night. Yes, please like, subscribe if you're not, which I know y'all are, and share. Please hit that like button. Thank y'all. See y'all tomorrow night.